Sorry. All right. I would like to, good evening. I would like to officially call to order the April 7th, the May 7th, 2024 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. Excuse me. And pursuant to the amendment of Bill H 3548 and Governor Keeling's signing of such amendment into law in March of 2023, expressing certain provisions of the open meeting law, this public meeting of the Town of Bolton Conservation Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but the public can access this meeting while in progress by Zoom Video Communications, Inc. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by telephone, cell phone, or personal computer using Zoom. Guidelines for participants include: please utilize the chat or raise hand function to address the board. People remain on mute until they are indeed addressed by the board, and participants are asked to display their first and last names. All of that said, by tradition, we will start with a roll call vote of present members. I am Brian Barabee.
Paul Brandwald. Jim Garrity.
Laurie Stevenson.
Excellent. Excuse me. Getting over a cold about a week ago, so I apologize. I will be coughing from time to time throughout this meeting. Let's see if we can get. All right, first up this evening, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now open a public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to discuss a notice of intent submitted by the Bolton Conservation Trust for proposed construction of a trail excuse me, between Sawyer Road and Wattaquatic Hill Road. Excuse me, is somebody from the trust here to actually talk about this tonight? One of the applicants?
Yeah, that's me. Andrew Chavit.
Thanks, Drew. Drew, do you want to walk us through what you're proposing real quick?
Sure. We had the initial meeting in November of last year, but I don't know if Lauren has a copy of the NOI submission to give a map overview of kind of what we're talking about. But
sure, I can. Sorry, Drew, I was just going to say I can pull up the map or anything you'd like on the screen if you want me to share that.
Yeah, that would be great. Just like the overview map.
Sure, 1 minute.
To remind people what we're doing here. We're basically connecting two conservation areas. The first being the Ballville, what we're calling the Ballville Conservation Area, that wraps around the Oaks housing development, which is across the street from the International Golf Course, and connecting that along Northbrook, essentially, to Fifeshire on Wattaquatic, which is that iron gate you might see from the road. Let's see. Can you scroll? One, yeah. So Wattaquatic is there on the bottom if you zoom in a little bit, going east to west. You have Sawyer Road kind of bisecting the middle of the page, going north-south. So we're kind of starting, this is just for the work in this section here, which is owned by the Escalante Group. The Bolton Conservation Trust has a trail easement right now that specifies, within 50 feet of the existing brook. We have agreement with them to expand that a little bit to get into more of an upland area, which is what we're trying to do with this trail. And we're passing, we're trying to leverage some existing cart roads and existing culverts and as much upland land as possible to just make a connection all the way south to the Fifeshire property.
Excellent.
We're going to be putting in one about 10-foot crossing, or at least that's what we're proposing, which goes over one of the streams that's outside of the main Northbrook area. But that's pretty much the major work that's going to be done on this, aside from like general raking.
All right. Well, Thank you for the pretty quick overview. Lauren, I believe we did get DEP comment on this. We did get a DEP file number and everything.
So we actually didn't get the DEP file number.
Okay.
But we did receive DEP comments, and I think there were three things they were looking for. One was a wetland delineation report. They also were looking to establish the 100-year floodplain base flood elevation, and they were wondering if an alternatives analysis had been performed per riverfront area performance standards. An alternatives analysis should be provided as part of the filing. Those were the three main points that they made.
Okay.
Yep, and we're looking to address those. We
Okay.
have the last two. We're working on that delineation.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't have that right now. It might be a little bit before we get it, but
To say, I know we kind of need to wait for the DEP file number too, but I don't believe Rebecca's had a chance to walk this yet. And usually we'll have a chance, usually we'll get her to walk it first to see if we can get her comments in as well. So my guesses would probably continue tonight so that we could set up a site visit, get her out there, and get you guys a chance just to answer those last few DEP questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
All right.
perfect.
All right. That said, other commission members, does anybody have any initial questions, comments, thoughts? Does that make sense? Is the best way to proceed? Okay.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. And any members of the public here tonight to comment on this particular hearing? I'm not seeing any. Lauren, can I ask, our next meeting is 21st?
Believe so. Let's see. Yep, that would be the 21st, and our first time opening would be 7:20.
Okay. All right. And that's it. I'm going to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for 0 Sawyer Road until our next public meeting, Tuesday, May 21st at 7:20 p.m. Do I hear a second for continuing?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, starting with Paul,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
and I'm Lauren. I'm an aye as well. And Drew, thank you for doing this. It really does. It looks like a great plan. I'm curious to get Rebecca's comments after she has a chance to get out, and I'm hoping we can see it all go forward.
All right,
we
great.
love. I personally love connectivity. I think in town generally we love connectivity. Whenever we can make that work, it's fantastic.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
All right, have a good night. So next up this evening, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue the open public meeting under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to discuss the notice of intent filed for 160 Still River Road, DEP file number 112-0740. And I believe, do we actually have someone representing the applicant here tonight? The applicant themselves?
David
You.
and Tom on the field here.
Okay, so just to remind anybody who may be watching, when last we left off, we had a chance to look at all of your plans. We were happy with all of the plans, required Board of Health approving the septic plan, and we were holding off until Board of Health had a chance to approve that so we could move forward with the other plans. It sounds to me like the Board of Health did approve it, so all of that paperwork come through. So I think we now have the current order of conditions with the septic where we had approved it, they had approved it. And I just want to put it out to other commission members. Are there any, well, I should ask this one question first. The removal of the current septic system, is that getting removed from, is that getting taken up and removed from site? Is that getting reused?
We can explain that. And just to make a little correction,
Please.
Bill Brookings has been, of the Board of Health, has been involved with all the planning. He officially needs to see the plan. The stamped plan just came in today. So if it goes well tonight, then I will bring the plans officially to him tomorrow. So, and as far as, if you notice the septic plan that's on the current drawing,
Yep.
we made that large enough, for a 5-bedroom house, which, the house has to be, good enough for, it's a 3-bedroom that we're putting up. But, in case the 1960s septic system fails in the other one, then we'll be able to just pump from a pump tank at the
Okay.
old house into the new system. So right now it's working at past Title V and all that, but it could quit. And we thought while we were doing it, we should make it big enough.
Okay. All right. And then could I ask, do we know the total square footage of the house? Yeah, the house that's proposed?
It's like 2340, I think. I believe that's the number. It's 23 something.
Okay.
Brian,
Okay.
do you need me to pull up the submitted plan on the screen just for everyone to see?
That might be helpful. I was gonna say, I'm just trying to see if I had any additional questions, but I think that might have most of them. Okay.
So it'd be Still River Road on the top
Yep.
of the drawing, and then that's the proposed driveway. The existing garage, the driveway runs into the existing garage, and then the proposed house is right on the river side of the garage. And the new septic system is to your left. Up there, yeah, that's right. That's about 20 feet higher in elevation than the wetland flags, just for reference.
Okay. All right. I think that's all I had for questions right now. I don't know. Do other members of the commissions, other members of the Conservation Commission have any outstanding questions?
Just one clarification, because I think last time we talked about the septic being in a different location.
Correct.
But this is still outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, the septic?
Yes, right. Yeah. I think it should be on.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
We had problems with the soil conditions in the
Front.
previous proposed location.
Okay.
I see. So, okay.
And where's the tank? Where's the tank?
The tank is see the proposed addition, proposed house?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
tank is just below that. See it's
Okay.
a pump tank there, a tank and a pump tank.
Hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Do we know how far from the wetland that tank will be?
Well, there's a,
It's 52 feet.
52. Okay.
All right.
What was our new no disturb zone, Brian? Is that?
It goes from 25 to 30 for existing properties.
Yeah. Okay.
It's noted with the erosion control line, which is right near that 52-foot marker.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
And I also, I think there are notes from Rebecca too, where she was looking to note the 52 being basically the limit of work. Not the limit of work. The permanent alterations to not be closer than 52 feet from the BVW in perpetuity. So basically establishing where those tanks are as the back
Yeah.
end of where things can be worked on or changed.
But there will be work done closer during the construction.
Yeah, yeah, but just going forward, that nothing else on the property is to be built beyond that 52 feet from the BVW.
Got it.
That makes sense. Okay. Additional questions, comments, thoughts? I'm not seeing any. And anybody from the public here tonight to comment on this particular hearing? And again, I'm not seeing any. Okay, so I think we can probably go ahead and close it and move to issue it tonight. It sounds like once you get Bill to stamp plans tomorrow, that should be fine. Just warning you again, if for some reason, he says the septic plan won't work and you have to change where the septic location is, that would kind of make this, would almost have to start this process again, as long as you're comfortable with that.
Right, well, the engineers, yeah, that too, we'd be fine with that. The engineer's been in contact with Bill throughout the design, so I think we're good.
It would seem that way. Yeah.
And
All right.
Bill will have the test digs as well.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned, but just know if for some reason they say, oh no, this is not going to work, we're going to have to change up the septic, then we'll probably have to come back to all of this. But again, I'm not overly concerned. All right. So what I was going to say is if we move to close it and issue it, I'd probably mention something I said about putting a permanent condition saying that permanent alterations shall not be closer than 52 feet from the bordering vegetated wetland on the site in perpetuity. So basically, once everything's done and built, nothing new is going to get built beyond that 52 feet from the BVW that comes right up along there, if that makes sense.
One question that
Go ahead.
David just brought up. If
Please.
the 1960 septic system, which is to the right of the existing house, you can see
Yeah.
Yes.
right there. I mean, if that fails, we will have to put a pump tank there, but that we can handle that with the Board of Health probably, but that may have to be in that 52 because it has to be gravity flow from the house to get out of the house.
Right.
You can't pump out of the house up a hill. You have to gravity feed to the tank and then you can pump from there. So, but it would be
close because the wetlands do go further down there. But
I was to say, it looks like on this that it's further than 52 to the actual leach field, depending on where the pump house would be. And again, I would just guess that it would be in line with the other ones they're proposing on that same pipe. So I would think you're even further outside the 52.
Okay.
If for some reason it's 51 feet, maybe it's something you have to ask the commission if we can make an exemption, and I would think everybody here would be pretty open to that. Does that make sense? If we were to memorialize it at the 52 feet, if for some reason you needed to get closer, you could always come back, but basically,
Yeah, I would leave your 52 feet note in there. That's fine then. Yeah, we'll address that. Right now,
Okay.
it's past Title V, so yeah.
All right. So that would be one thing I'd probably say, something along those lines. And then probably would want to add into that the permanent structure as proposed on this particular building site shall not exceed, I'd say, we'll say 2,400 square feet within that 100-foot buffer zone in perpetuity. In other words, if there's going to be additions put onto the house at a later date, those additions have to be outside the buffer zone or going away from the buffer zone. Does that make sense? That basically, I'm going to say 2,400 square feet because that should cover basically what's being proposed to build there, plus a little give. That it's going to be that and no bigger in perpetuity as far as within that 100-foot of the buffer zone. Does that make sense as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Okay. And then we put out to commission members. Do those two conditions make sense? Just memorializing some of those things. It's generally what we'll try to do on a lot of different filings nowadays. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brian,
Go ahead, Lauren, please.
I think Rebecca just had a couple more questions regarding landscaping, if there's any landscaping or planting that's proposed on the site. And also if there was a plan for final stabilization.
Well, as far as where the digging is going on and all that, historically, again, I've been on that property since 1958, and it's very, the soil doesn't move, you know, like you don't have rivers of dirt flowing down and whatnot, so it'll be all grassed over. And as far as whether shrubs go up there or not, is she recommending that, or I don't understand the question?
I think she was just asking to see what the plan was. Usually what, you know, oftentimes people will have a planting plan for stabilization afterwards. And I think one of the reasons I didn't think to ask the question, others might not have, is if I'm remembering the site, everything was basically being built on what was kind of existing lawn or field. And I was kind of assuming it would be anything you're not building on would be returning to lawn and or field.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think, and I'll put it out to other commission members, that I'd be comfortable without us having to set up a planting plan other than that. Again, they're still covered under not, you know, allowing everything to slough off into the wetlands. I'm assuming it's just going to grow back as lawn, and that lawn seems to hold pretty well. Is there any special wording people would like to see worked in, or are people comfortable basically just assuming that it'll be relawned afterwards?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm
It just, yeah, you could just state, be, seeded back to lawn after whatever, if that's what you feel you need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So
Just for your comfort, my dad had 2 gardens down there that went to about maybe 10 foot from those flags going up the hill, 100-foot long gardens. And we never had a problem with dirt flowing out of those down towards the wetlands. So it's pretty stable material.
as I said, they probably help to hold the soil. And that's generally what the question is just to make sure it's, you know, that after construction, you're not just going to leave it as dirt, you know, and that you
Right.
actually are going to reseed it and try to, you know, regrow some sort of ground cover that will stop it from just sloughing off the hillside in the interim.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So in that case, if there are no further questions, comments, seeing none, I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion that we close the hearing for 160 Still River Road, DEP file number 112-0740. Do I hear a second for closing?
second.
All those in favor, starting with Paul,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an aye as well. Excuse me. All right. I would like to make a motion that we issue an order of conditions for 160 Still River Road as drafted and submitted at this evening's meeting with the following additional conditions. That the permanent structure as proposed shall not exceed 2,400 square feet of home within the 100-foot buffer zone in perpetuity. That permanent alterations shall not be closer than 52 feet from the bordering vegetated wetland on site in perpetuity. And that post-construction existing lawn will be reseeded to a similar or better condition that it existed in prior to, so as to help in soil stabilization. Do I hear a second for all of that?
Second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, starting with Paul,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
and Lauren. I'm an aye as well.
You?
So for the Broomfields, you should be all set. We're gonna put that through. I guess Lauren. Hopefully, we'll try to get something out tomorrow, and then we need to get commission members just to run to town hall and sign it. But it should be all set. You have it on the public meeting that was approved, and we'll get it signed and to you guys as quickly as possible.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your diligence in this. Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Good luck with the project. I'm sure it'll be a beautiful place. It's a nice little area right there. So good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye now.
Bye.
All right. How are we? Okay. Oh, good. We don't have times on these. This is great. So for the commission members, the next thing on our agenda, we had a continued discussion around the request for a certificate of compliance for Lot 3 on Long Hill Road. In talking with Rebecca and Lauren today, we still haven't received the as-built. So that's kind of what we're waiting on before we can issue the certificate of compliance. So that said, unless anybody has any questions and or comments, we are just going to continue this until our next meeting. Anybody have any questions or comments? No. Any members of the public here tonight to question or comment on this particular hearing? And again, I see no one. So tabled until our next meeting. All right, next up. So we had a request for emergency certification for a breach of a beaver dam in Danforth Brook for 21 Century Mill Road. This is an interesting one because it is actually a member of the commission that has that had to put in for the emergency certification. So I'm assuming, Jim Garahy, you'll be recusing yourself from this particular hearing?
I will.
Okay. So moving forward with the other two members of the commission, well, I was going to say you can read the report as to the beaver activity. As you know, in the past, sometimes things happen fast, and Rebecca is authorized to basically issue an emergency certification so the work can get started on and dealt with, especially if it's an impassable driveway, as you can see from the pictures. And then that emergency certification comes to us, the full commission, to see if we have any other additional questions, comments, or if we can just ratify and approve. It's basically a roll call vote to ratify and approve the emergency certification that she did. So that said, I don't have any questions. I can understand why she did it, what needs to happen. Other commission members have any questions or comments at this point?
I just have a practical question. How do you reach the dam? What's the process?
Is that a question for me?
For anybody who can answer it, yeah.
It's a good question. I was going to say, do we have it in Rebecca's filing? I don't think it. I think it just says to breach.
There's actually, we do have, there's guidance for the Conservation Commission.
Oh, there it is.
I don't know if it actually goes into detail on the how. I have to read through it. This might just be giving information on when beaver activity is around, like what you need to do, but I'm not sure if it actually gets into the how.
So, Jim, did you have an answer for that?
It's you go down with boots and you pick up the sticks. Right. I mean, most of it's mostly sticks.
Yeah.
And then they'll use a little bit of leaves, if you will. But it's mostly sticks. It doesn't look overly challenging.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just say no permanent damage too, which is nice.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was heading.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's really the way I'm envisioning is just picking up the sticks. There's a bunch of sticks. They jam in there.
amazingly too.
Yeah, it's, and there's some of them are big too, which is just, it is incredible.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Any members of the public here tonight to comment on this particular hearing? Seeing none. All right. So generally in the past, what we've done is when Rebecca had to issue an emergency certification, we'll just do a roll call vote to authorize and ratify it, which is what I would propose doing with this one, unless anyone sees a reason we shouldn't. All right. In that case, I'm going to call for a roll call vote to both authorize and ratify the emergency certification for 21 Century Mill Road. All those in favor, please say aye, starting with Paul.
Aye.
Lori.
Aye.
And Lauren, I'm an aye as well. All right. So just going through our agenda. Looks like we're in pretty good shape. The enforcement order notice for 146 Hudson Road, and talking with Rebecca, she said it is progressing. They are actually working on submitting a plan right now, so it is moving towards compliance along those lines. You'll notice in the shared drive where the minutes from the April 23rd, 2024 meeting. Did everybody have a chance to read through those minutes? If so, any edits, corrections, or changes? If not, does anybody need more time to read through the minutes? See none. Okay, in that case, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes for our April 23rd, 2024 meeting as drafted and submitted at this evening's meeting. Do I hear a second for minute approval?
Second.
All those in favor, starting with Paul.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Lori.
Aye.
And Lauren, I'm an aye as well. I think a lot of our regular updates are there. We still do have our volunteer land steward position and 3 positions on the Conservation Commission available. But we also had a request basically for a proposed Learn to Fish program at Bower Springs, like we have done in the past. People remember these from last year. Rebecca actually led it. I believe, God, was it Mass Fish and Wildlife does a Learn to Fish program at Bowers. We thought this was a good use of Bowers in the past. And talking to Rebecca, couldn't remember if we had agreed to let this happen annually, if we just agreed to it last year. So they're proposing it again this year. Said it might just be helpful if we could have a roll call vote of us approving the use of Bower Springs for a Learn to Fish event this season. And I said I was fine doing that if you guys are fine voting on that. I don't have a ton of information. Again, it's going to be a similar Learn to Fish event like last year. People comfortable with that at Bowers?
Yep.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to call for a roll call vote to authorize the Learn to Fish event this season at the Bower Springs Conservation Area. All those in favor, please say aye, starting with Paul.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Lori.
Aye.
And Lauren, I'm an aye as well. And I think, and Lauren, please correct me if I'm wrong, that might be the end of this evening's agenda.
I believe it is. I don't think we missed anything.
All right. All right. Well, that's it. Any commission members have any new business or anything else they would just like to discuss? Anybody want to invite friends to help them remove beaver housing?
Yeah, I was going to say if Paul wants to come down, I'm happy for the help, Paul.
Yeah, I'm
We
a
should
little
probably-
curious now. Yeah.
We should probably document this for the future of
Yeah.
how we would not like to see these things done.
Yeah.
Please
Now,
don't do
if
this.
you got to do it by hand, you got to pick it up by hand. So no machines, just all hands.
and everything naturalizes afterwards, so it's appreciated.
Yeah.
All right.
Have you actually
Seeing no-
seen the dam, Jim? I was just gonna ask, have you seen the size of the dam?
Yeah, so what they did was, there's a huge tree that went down over the Danforth Brook. And they kind of just left it alone and water was flowing fine, but I think it was starting like in February, March of this year, they started using that tree as their dam, the base of their dam. So, and there's water that kind of goes around it, so I'm just gonna take an area that kind of goes around it. It's not a big area. So we'll see how it goes. I really don't know how this goes.
Sure is.
But it's gonna be interesting.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other new business, I'd like to make a motion that we hereby adjourn the Tuesday, May 7th, 2024 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. Do I hear a second for adjourning?
Second.
All those in favor, starting with Paul.
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
and Lauren, I'm an I as well. Thank you all. Everybody have a lovely evening. Go
Thank you.
Celtics.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Bye.